No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of WWE Extreme Rules 2022 from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. What a show, to say the least. A very eventful premium live event. A lot of hype going into this show. And I must say, it certainly delivered. Let's get to it. No more wasting time. I appreciate everybody in the chat room. If you send a super chat, it's very much appreciated. I am going to try and get to all of them, but I am going to make sure I stick to the topic as much as possible. Make sure you spread the word, tell a friend. David Estevez sent in a $2 super chat, says, one of the best endings to a pay-per-view, chills. And I'm sure many of you know what happened at the very end of the show. Mr. CK81 sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, first time catching you live. I'm a big fan. Keep up the great work. I very much appreciate you tuning in live. Thank you to everybody tuning in live right now. I hope you stick around. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says, calling it now, Orton Wyatt WrestleMania. He finally goes over. I hope that Randy Orton is able to come back. A lot of rumors about Randy Orton's future. Will he be able to come back from his injury? He's no young man anymore. I know we all like to think of Randy Orton as a young man, but he's starting to get up there. He is definitely a veteran. Hopefully he does come back, though. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, who is creepier, new Bray Wyatt or SummerSlam Joker? That SummerSlam Joker was still one of the creepiest fans I've ever seen at a wrestling event. Bray Wyatt is just a badass, but we'll get to more on Bray here in a few moments. We kicked off the show on a positive note. We had the Brawling Brutes going up against Imperium in a Donnybrook match, basically a street fight with Irish themed items at ringside. You had a bar, you had barrels stacked up. And during the Brawling Brutes entrance, there was a little quick video clip of the White Rabbit, one last teaser to start us off, to remind us that the White Rabbit was coming. But anyways, we'll talk about that more later. As you would expect, they wasted no time. Everybody started brawling right off the bat. They were there to fight. It was indeed fight night. Imperium did get the upper hand for a while, though. Imperium would work 3-on-1, taking out the members of the Brawling Brutes one person at a time. They used the bar to their advantage, not talking about Sheamus and Cesaro, but the bar that was actually set up on the outside of the ring. They held Sheamus up against the bar. Gunther chopped him repeatedly, just reopening those cuts from SmackDown. Gunther slammed Sheamus onto the bar. Ridge Holland got taken out from an Imperium bomb. But then Sheamus was able to get a second wind. He took down Kaiser and Vinci, and then him and Gunther went at it once again. These guys are destined to fight forever, it seems, as the saying goes. They kept exchanging blows, and then the three Brawling Brutes all went after Gunther at the same time. The crowd popped big for that. Sheamus hit Gunther with the bro kick, but Vinci broke up the pin. Sheamus put on the cloverleaf to Gunther, but Kaiser broke it up, hit Sheamus with the shillelagh, and then Holland and Butch were able to save Sheamus from being pinned. Sheamus and Gunther, they traded more blows, and then you had both teams facing off with each other. Fight continued. They went to the outside of the ring. Butch climbed up the barrels, jumped off the barrels with a moonsault, coming down onto Imperium. And then Gunther hit Sheamus with the shillelagh. However, Sheamus was able to kick out, and then Holland and Butch grabbed shillelaghs. They took out Kaiser and Vinci with the shillelaghs, and then Sheamus put Gunther through the announce table with the Celtic Cross, aka the Razor's Edge. And then back in the ring, Sheamus hit Vinci with the bro kick and scored the pinfall victory. Excellent opening match here. Everything you would want from these guys. Just a really fun, hard-hitting street fight. Lots of action nonstop. And my prediction was correct. I figured the Brawling Brutes were due for a victory here, with Imperium winning the previous six-man match and also Gunther's victories over Sheamus. And everybody looked great in the match. It was a hard-fought match from both sides, and one of the better pay-per-view openers from WWE in a long time. Great stuff here. Now, we move on to our second match of the evening. Liv Morgan defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Ronda Rousey in an Extreme Rules match. Shanti sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, can we give credit to the ring announcer for the proper pronunciation of Imperium and Gunther? Well, I'm not sure if it's Gunther or Gunther or Gunter. I don't even know at this point. Walter was pretty easy to pronounce, but hey, the ring announcer always puts in a lot of effort into the introduction, so props to her. And Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Bloodline versus Brawling Brutes at Survivor Series? Hey, I'd be down for that. They might need a fourth Brawling Brute, though, to combat the Bloodline. Unless, what if Imperium at some point teams up with the Brawling Brutes to go against the Bloodline? The Bloodline has 5 guys now. It'll be interesting to see what teams are put together, or if there is even a super team that can be assembled to take on the Bloodline. I'm sure there will be. I'm guessing it will be Bloodline versus some team put together. The question is, will it be a combination of teams put together for that Survivor Series War Games match? It's going to be very interesting for sure. So anyways, Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. Rousey was wearing the judo outfit from Jean LaBelle to honor him. She did not get cheered, though. It's interesting because over the past few weeks, I feel like Ronda Rousey has started to turn the corner and fans have been more accepting of her. Not tonight. She got booed heavily. Although Liv Morgan did not get a huge reaction, the crowd was more about just not liking Ronda Rousey, and they did cheer Liv somewhat, but it wasn't overwhelming or anything. I thought the match was okay, but there was really not much they could do to top the opening match. Like, it was okay, but I think that they tried to make Liv as credible as possible against Ronda Rousey. She had the baseball bat out there and she held her own, but I mean, I was never really convinced that Liv Morgan was going to win this. And there were times where whatever they were trying to go for didn't look all that good. And some people did not like how the match ended. So Liv used a steel chair on Ronda Rousey, hit her repeatedly, laid out Rousey on a table and hit a senton off the top rope. But Rousey was able to kick out, and then Rousey applied an armbar. She adjusted the hold into a biceps crusher, and that's when Liv passed out. She was smiling, and that's the thing that some people thought was not the right ending. I guess they were trying to make Liv defiant in defeat. Steve-O said the smile was awkward, and Torvik23 said it was weird. She's doing too much. So Liv did not tap out. She passed out. I guess that makes her look strong in defeat, whatever. I mean, I more or less was confident in my prediction that Ronda Rousey was going to win. And sure enough, she did. Ronda Rousey is your new SmackDown Women's Champion. Makes sense if you're going to do Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania, which has been rumored, the one-on-one match. It's been rumored for the longest time now. And I expect that at some point we will get that match, most likely at WrestleMania in California, WrestleMania 39. And I guess the Roman numerals are back. In Philadelphia, where the show took place, they had a graphic for WrestleMania 40, and it was the X, what is it, XL Roman numeral, correct me if I'm wrong, for 40. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad they're bringing back the Roman numerals. That was another thing that I guess Vince McMahon was not a big fan of, and that's something that Triple H is bringing back. Yeah, Joey Perez says XL is 40, so there you go. And they got the cracked Liberty Bell, which is pretty cool. I like the logo. We had Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross in a strap match. And before the bell even rang, McIntyre attached the strap to himself, but Kross refused. He threw his end down to the mat. Scarlett grabbed it, and that allowed Kross to attack McIntyre and gain the early upper hand. They brawled in the crowd, and then they got back by the ring. McIntyre suplexed Kross on the floor, hit Kross with a sidewalk slam onto the apron, got Kross back in the ring, and then finally attached the strap to Kross. And at that point, the match officially began. McIntyre was whipping Kross repeatedly, but then Scarlett provided a distraction. Kross gained the upper hand, and then Kross started whipping McIntyre with the strap, and eventually McIntyre made a comeback. They traded blows with the straps, the strap pieces, and they did the hockey fight. They kept hitting each other with their end of the strap. McIntyre, though, was able to hit the Future Shock DDT, went for the Claymore, but then Scarlett got into the ring and she sprayed McIntyre with pepper spray. Kross then hit the cross hammer, basically the running forearm elbow strike to the back of the head, and picked up the 1-2-3 victory over McIntyre. So I was wrong on this one, and I'm okay with being wrong on this one. I said it on the predictions video that Karrion Kross, I think, needed the win more than McIntyre, but I felt like the way it was set up, and especially on SmackDown, like I was feeling more confident after SmackDown. So McIntyre lost at Clash at the Castle, and that was a pretty big loss. Then last week, Karrion Kross, they did the fireball angle, but then that was botched, and then Kross choked out McIntyre to set up the match. And then on SmackDown last night, Kross got the best of McIntyre again. So McIntyre lost the big pay-per-view match, was getting beat down, got beat down on the go-home show. I was feeling like McIntyre was going to pull off the win, even though I wanted to see Kross win. So I'm happy that Kross won. They did do all of the outside interference, maybe a little bit too much. And Drew's downward spiral continues. So what's next for him? We'll see what happens. Match was good, but you know, you can only do so much with the strap, whipping somebody over and over again. It gets a little repetitive, and maybe that's a handicap when you're doing a stipulation match like this, where you know they're limited and what they can do. You know, they did do some brawling in the crowd, but a lot of it was hitting each other with the strap and, you know, just kind of went on for a while. But it was still a good match. Maybe this is the start of an eventual heel turn for Drew McIntyre. Change things up with him a little bit. He hasn't been a heel in a while. I could definitely see that as a possibility. But anyways, moving on here. We had Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Bianca defending her Raw Women's Championship against Bayley in a ladder match. Bayley was out there by herself without damage control. The two of them collided early. They both rolled to the outside of the ring, and they each grabbed a ladder, tried to set it up in the ring, but of course, both of them were fresh and neither of them could climb. I thought this was a little silly. Why would you even try to set up the ladder when your opponent is right there ready to attack you? That didn't really make much sense to me, but I'll let it slide. Match went back and forth for a bit. Bayley gave Bianca a sunset flip powerbomb into a ladder that was set up in the corner. That gave her the upper hand. Bayley used the ladder as a weapon, and then Bayley laid Bianca on a ladder bridge outside of the ring, did this flying elbow, which looked pretty brutal. And then back in the ring, Bayley was taking off a piece of her knee brace, but that gave Bianca time to get back into the match, and Bianca ended up hitting a KOD and was on the verge of winning the match when all of a sudden you had Damage Control show up. Not really a big surprise here that they were going to interfere. They knocked Bianca off the ladder, and then Bianca somehow managed to fight both of them off with both of them on the turnbuckle in the corner, and Bianca managed to hit both of them at the same time with the KOD. I will say this in a moment. I think that this interference was not necessary given the finish. So with Damage Control out of the equation, match continued. Bayley was on the verge of winning. She put the ladder over Bianca, like to insult her, but then Bianca literally pushed the ladder up, and Bayley fell off into the ropes. Both of them climbed up the ladder. Bianca used her braid on Bayley after all the times Bayley used the braid on her. And then Bianca gave Bayley a KOD on a ladder that Bayley was holding. And this was really dangerous. But they did pull it off. It was a unique spot. It looked like Bianca was trying to find a safe place to drop Bayley, and she finally did it and then climbed up to the top. Bianca grabbed the Women's Championship and is still your Raw Women's Champion. Good match here. I give them credit for trying to do some unique stuff. I'm always a fan of that whenever they can come up with some unique spots in these ladder matches, because it's really difficult to do something unique because there have been so many ladder matches. It's all been done before, and apparently I'm a robot right now. We're live, pal. We just gotta roll with it here. Good match with these ladies, and I'm not really surprised Bianca won. She was my prediction. At first, I thought Bayley was gonna win, but then I thought about, well, who might end up on Raw pretty soon? Charlotte Flair versus Bianca for the title. And Bayley can lose this match. Now, my only issue is I think it should have just been the win without Damage Control interfering. I feel like Damage Control coming out there and failing to help Bayley win, Bianca basically beat all three of them by herself, which it makes her look really strong, but makes Bayley look weak in the process. I think you could have not had the interference and just had Bianca beat Bayley straight up and, Bayley would have put up a good fight or whatever, and that would have been that. So wasn't a big fan of the interference unless like somebody else was coming out there, but they were saying like, Asuka's not there, Alexa Bliss is not there. They were taken out. So they could have had somebody else come out, but they did not do that. Walter Cruz sent in a $5 super chat. Apparently his first super chat disappeared. I'll have to let you know if it went through later. He says, I don't know what happened, but say yes to no DQ, like and share, hashtag stick to my shtick. Belair match, only one I got wrong, so great night for him. Congratulations, Walter. You did better than I did. I did pretty good, but I was hoping to get a clean sweep on this show. I did not. The game is on 100 with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It says, Charlotte is probably the one to beat Bianca now. Maybe. I mean, I'm trying to think about WrestleMania and what direction they might be going in for WrestleMania. Could end up being Charlotte. I mean, that would not shock me at this point if Charlotte's the one that finally ends Bianca's reign, or maybe Rhea Ripley. More on that in a few moments here. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, is Charlotte even capable of a gimmick change? I hope so. I've said it before on other streams. I think that Charlotte could really benefit from some sort of tweak to her character, a little bit of an evolution in her character. But yes, I could see Charlotte coming back and possibly winning the title. But there is somebody else I'm thinking about. More on that here in a few moments. So now we move on to Edge versus Finn Balor in an I Quit match. And we did talk about on the predictions video possible scenarios, and well, one of them pretty much played out as we were predicting, and we'll get to that here in just a few moments. So Finn Balor wore this mask to the ring. It was like Demolition meets Pinhead. He had this black mask with spikes all around, or pins. I guess they were spikes / pins. Like I said, resembled Pinhead. D. Martin 5th sent in a $5 super chat, says, Finn must be channeling his inner Demolition with the spiked mask. I liked it because it was something different for Finn Balor, changing it up. He was doing the demon character for the longest time, wearing the mask to the ring. I like it. Kind of a different look for him. And somebody said he took Karrion Kross's mask and remolded it into something for his own. So anyways, Edge went right after Balor, was beating the crap out of him, and the referee was asking if Balor wanted to quit, and Balor said no. And Edge just kept the assault going, and they ended up fighting by the ringside area. They fought into the crowd. Balor was trying to get away from Edge. Edge went somewhere and grabbed a hockey stick, and he applied the crossface while using the hockey stick on the kickoff panel desk. But Balor was able to escape from that. They got back to the ringside area. They were fighting in the concession, almost by the concession stands, fighting up the stairs, but then they came back down. And then back in the ring, Balor gained the upper hand. Finally, he put the crossface on Edge, but Edge was able to escape. He sent Balor into a chair that was placed in the corner of the ring, and Edge was about to finish off Balor, but that's when, surprise, surprise, Judgment Day showed up. Edge was able to spear Balor off the apron onto the members of Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Dominic, and then Edge was going to hit the spear, and that's when Rhea Ripley handcuffed Edge to the top rope. Edge tried to fight off everyone, and they had a great camera shot here where Edge is looking towards the hard camera. Judgment Day is right behind him. He knows he's in big trouble, but he's a fighter. He's a gunslinger. He's not going to back down, but he was outnumbered and only had one working arm. So he tried to fight them, but he was overwhelmed. Rey Mysterio ran down to make the save. However, Dominic sucker punched his own father and beat him down. And it wasn't looking good for Edge at this point. But then Beth Phoenix, Edge's wife, showed up to help out. She got the kendo stick from Finn Balor, started hitting Balor with the kendo stick. But then Rhea Ripley got in the ring. She was brawling with Beth Phoenix. Beth speared Ripley out of the ring and then got the key to unlock Edge from the handcuffs. Edge hit the spear to Priest, went after Dominic. Dominic went for a handshake. Edge shook his hand and then gave him a low blow. And then Balor tried to come back in, but Edge hit him with a spear. Edge hit more spears and then took the bar from the steel chair that he's been doing over the years and was going to go for the crossface. But then Rhea Ripley came back in and knocked out Beth Phoenix with the brass knuckles that she had. And Balor hit multiple coup de grace on Edge. Balor told Edge to quit. Edge refused to quit, told him to go to hell. And that's when Rhea Ripley grabbed some chairs and she was going to hit Beth Phoenix with a concerto. However, Edge finally said, "I quit." And this is what we were talking about on the predictions video last week. We brought up, I think I might have actually brought it up, although I ended up picking Edge because I felt like for some reason Edge was going to win this. But I'm glad Balor won. I did say I wanted Balor to win. I did bring up the night after the 1999 Royal Rumble. They did The Rock versus Triple H in an I Quit match, and they were acting like they were going to injure China. And then Triple H said, "I quit," to prevent them from hurting China. And of course, that was a swerve. China double cross Triple H. But here, they did it where they were going to injure Rhea Ripley, or not injure Rhea Ripley, injure Beth Phoenix via Rhea Ripley. And that's when Edge quit to save his wife. However, it was kind of like the mafia, where they interrogate you and you give them the information and then they kill you anyways. Right after Edge quit, Rhea Ripley did it. She hit Beth Phoenix with the concerto. And credit to Michael Cole. He did such a great job here selling this and reacting to it. I thought he did an awesome job here. And it had that Attitude Era like vibe to it. We don't see people getting hit in the head with a steel chair too often these days. They did that, and Michael Cole was reacting like JR when Triple H would hit somebody with a sledgehammer. He did an excellent job here calling this. Adrian thinks Cole went a tad over the top. I prefer them showing more emotion and passion than not enough. So I'd rather they go overboard than not showing enough passion and excitement and just having that emotion and the feeling of the moment. So yeah, Edge immediately ran over to check on his wife. Judgment Day was celebrating. This was a red hot angle. Excellent stuff here. Match was great. And I love the storyline. I mean, yeah, you had a lot of interference and a lot of things happening, but it was a production. It was very exciting to watch, and everybody did a great job in this. And you know what? It's working. The crowd heat. I mean, the crowd was pretty hot for this show, but there were times where they got quiet. They were red hot for this. When Dominic was in there, like the place was going crazy. And when Edge gave him the low blow, huge pop. The people are into this. It's working. And Judgment Day really needed the win here. And they got some major heat out of this. excellent storytelling. Very, very well done by everybody involved. So I'm looking forward to the eventual mixed tag team match. I'm sure we'll get it eventually. Rhea Ripley and Balor against Edge and Beth Phoenix. Maybe they'll save it for WrestleMania. I mean, they could definitely keep this going for several more months and do it at WrestleMania. And then they can do Rey Mysterio versus Dominic. I suspect that's going to be a WrestleMania match. If I had to make an early prediction for a WrestleMania match, I think they're going to do Rey Mysterio versus Dominic, maybe Mask versus Career or Mask versus Hair, something like that. So moving on here to the main event of the evening. We had Matt Riddle versus Seth Freakin Rollins in a fight pit match with Daniel Cormier as the special guest referee, DC, UFC Hall of Famer, I think. Legend in the MMA world. Seth Rollins, because it was Philadelphia, he was dressed up like RVD. I like how Rollins always has like these themed ring attires for these big events. Just like when he came out with the polka dots, dressed like Dusty Rhodes. He came out dressed up like RVD. He did the RVD, the thumbs, and Corey Graves called him the whole freaking show. That was fun. And yeah, this was an entertaining match. I love that they did this on the main roster. You know, it's something different, and it's hard because we've seen every match type. I like how this was a different type of match on a main roster show. You had no ring ropes. You have that upper platform, and I guess the rule is that the match can only end in the ring. It cannot end on the upper platform, but people go up there anyways. So you had the feeling out process in the beginning, and both guys were having some issues with DC in the opening moments. And I like how they were utilizing the cage, because we have cage matches, and I feel like sometimes the cage doesn't really get utilized, i.e. WrestleMania 28, end of an era, which people love. But one thing I did not like about that match was that I feel like they barely utilized the cage. It almost wasn't even there or even necessary. Like it was more about the Shawn Michaels as the referee storyline. But anyways, won't go on that rant because everybody loves that match. So if I criticize it too much, I'll get hate. But like Riddle was bouncing off the cage, hit Rollins with a kick, and Rollins came off the cage with a frog splash. Like, I like this stuff. And by the way, I forgot to mention Dexter Lumis. Throughout the show, The Miz was backstage, and he was dealing with Philadelphia's mascot, whatever team it is. I don't know. I apologize. I'm not a sports guy. But the sports mascot in the costume, Miz kept messing around with him. And then eventually Dexter Lumis showed up. The Flyers, is that a basketball team? I hope it's a basketball team, or I'm going to come off being very foolish here. Miz got choked out once again by Dexter Lumis, and then Dexter Lumis walked off. Oh, it's a hockey team. Whoops, my bad. My apologies to you hockey fans out there. I don't even know the Philadelphia teams. I think the Eagles are a football team, but I don't really know. And I definitely don't know the hockey teams. I could name one hockey player, Wayne Gretzky. I could not name two. I seriously cannot name a second hockey player. That's how little I know about hockey. Anyways, let's get back to the show here. If you're new to the channel, I know nothing about sports. So I could barely tell you anything about any sports team. So let's get back to this. They did the Dexter Lumis stuff. Back to the match here. Rollins ended up climbing up. After Rollins hit a curb stomp, Riddle got up at the 10 count. He had to beat the 10 count. Rollins climbed up to the top of the platform, and Riddle came up after him. Rollins tried to knock him off. Riddle was holding on for dear life, and he managed to apply a rear naked choke on Rollins, but Rollins escaped and then gave Riddle, I guess, a buckle bomb into the cage. And they continued to fight on the platform. DC was trying to get them to come down because the match was not going to end at the top of the platform. And then Riddle was hit with a pedigree by Rollins, and Rollins was getting angry because he wanted DC to count, but DC was not doing it because of the rule. Riddle managed to get back up, hit an RKO. Rollins ended up falling back down to the ring, and that's when Riddle took advantage. Riddle jumped off the top of the platform all the way down with the senton. Awesome spot here. And he managed to get back up. He applied a triangle submission to Rollins. Rollins tried to get out, but he could not, and Rollins ended up tapping out. Very entertaining match here. I enjoyed it. I loved the uniqueness of it, and I liked the big spot at the end with the senton. And nice way to wrap up the show. But guess what? This wasn't the end of the show, because Riddle was celebrating on the stage. The credits rolled. You know it's the Triple H era, because this is his old little routine that he would do, where the credits would roll up, but the show's actually not over. The credits rolled, and then all of a sudden, the lights went out. Everybody had their cell phone lights, and you knew it was coming. You had several people dressed up in Firefly Funhouse costumes. You had Husky the Pig, Rambling Rabbit, these real-life costumes. They were all over the arena. And then a door was shown at the stage, and we had a little video on the big screen. This guy in this scary mask, who was presumably Bray Wyatt. We saw the guy in the mask. And then this guy in the mask came through the door. He had the lantern, and sure enough, he took off the mask, and it was indeed Bray Wyatt. He is officially back. Crowd went absolutely ape shit for this. They chanted "holy shit," and the pop when he pulled off the mask, like, that was a superstar reaction if there ever was one. Like, what a return, man. That was epic, to say the least. Like, I even got a little teary-eyed at the end. Like, I got goosebumps from that. How did Vince McMahon fire this guy? How did they screw him up so badly? Like, it just blows my mind how badly Vince dropped the ball with him. You guys know how much we praised the character of The Fiend. SummerSlam 2019, I was there in Toronto, and Virtue was there. We all talked about it. Like, he got that Undertaker-like reaction on that night when he came out as The Fiend to wrestle Finn Balor. And they had him lose to Goldberg. What? Like, what were they thinking with that? I still cannot get over that. And, you know, just all these bad booking decisions, and then, yeah, Vince cut him. Like, he's a genius, but I still don't understand that. That was a Vince misstep for sure. Vince made some great decisions. He also made some bad ones, and that was a bad one. You look at the reaction on this show. The boy Fernando with a $2 super chat, thank you for that, says, who do you think should be Bray's first opponent? Man, I'm not even sure. He's got to be a babyface, right? Like, how can he even be a heel at this point? The people just love him so much. You know, Judgment Day had a really strong win, so you could have Bray feud with Judgment Day for a while, and then maybe Edge comes back and you have Bray and Edge team up against Judgment Day. Like, that would be a hell of a tag team match. Edge and Bray Wyatt versus Damian Priest and Finn Balor, or even a 6-person match with Rhea Ripley and Beth Phoenix added. Like, there's a lot of possibilities, but I like Bray versus Judgment Day for sure. Walter sent in a $5 super chat, says, I screamed at home, got yelled at by wife, woke her up, LOL, but damn it, I had to pop loud. If I say Rock can't do WrestleMania, have Bray beat Roman Reigns for the title. That would be interesting because Bray lost to Roman Reigns at the beginning of the title run back at Payback in 2020. Although that was so long ago. That would be very interesting, though, if it came full circle and Bray Wyatt was the one to beat him. And Building Nexus with the $2 super chat says, Bray Wyatt versus Judgment Day would not go well for Judgment Day. Well, you're probably right. In the long run, it would be Bray coming up on top for sure. I would think so, at least. You definitely don't want to bring back Bray just to have him lose a bunch of matches again, right? This guy Experience with the $2 super chat says, Fiend versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania if The Rock or Cody Rhodes are no-goes. I'm pretty sure Cody will be back for the Royal Rumble. I would be shocked if he doesn't return. But yeah, I mean, if they need somebody bad enough, The Fiend is definitely that guy, or Bray Wyatt. I feel like The Fiend might be done. He might just be Bray Wyatt again. They did have somebody out there with a Fiend mask, but then at the end, Bray has a new mask and unmasked, showed his face and all that. So the Fiend might actually be done. But yeah, Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns. We'll see what they do. I still think they should maybe tone down the supernatural aspect of it a little bit, but we'll see what they do. I mean, as far as the creativity goes, like I'm very excited to see what they do with him. I mean, they came up with all this creative stuff to set up his return, and hey, big success. You hear that reaction from the fans when he came out there, like that was one of the best returns in quite some time, maybe the best since Edge in WWE as far as returns go. So that was Extreme Rules, everybody. I think the pay-per-view delivered big time. Bray Wyatt's return at the end was awesome. Fight Pit was awesome. Edge versus Finn Balor was awesome. Show opened on a strong note, and the undercard matches, they were all solid. So I'm giving this show a solid A. Excellent pay-per-view, and it's another candidate. Triple H has been on a roll here so far. SummerSlam, Clash at the Castle, Extreme Rules. The Triple H era, all these pay-per-views have delivered big so far as I'm concerned. James Moody with a $2 super chat. Thank you, James. Says, Bray versus Riddle until Randy Orton returns. That would be interesting, although I'm not sure why people are so obsessed with wanting to see Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton again. I think it's got to be Judgment Day. I think you got to have Bray against some different opponents. And, if you're going to do the whole supernatural thing, I kind of like Judgment Day against Bray Wyatt, because Judgment Day, they haven't really done the supernatural stuff, but they have that dark, gothic-like feel to them. And I think that would be an intriguing feud. And I do think Bray should be a face. Walter Cruz sent in a $5 super chat, says, since Vince McMahon fed Bray Wyatt to Goldberg, Triple H should give him an undefeated streak as a stick to Vince, let him go without any losses, poetic justice. Maybe they could bring back Goldberg for a rematch against Bray Wyatt, and Bray can actually get his win back. Actually, that's a terrible idea. They should not bring back Goldberg at this point. With all due respect to Goldberg, because he did have a few decent matches over the past couple of years. Him and Lashley had a respectable match. and him and Reigns was fine. But yeah, I think you pushed your luck with Goldberg. It's time to move on from that. The Vince era is over. Of course, if Saudi Arabia wants Goldberg bad enough, well, we may get Goldberg one more time. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I highly recommend the show. I think it's a must watch if you did not see it. So check it out on the WWE Network on Peacock if you missed it. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for all the latest news updates. And boy Fernando sent in a $2 super chat, says Bray Wyatt versus Karrion Kross. Yes, that's another possibility too. Karrion Kross is another dark character who could have a great, well, I don't know if it would be a great match, but it would be two interesting characters going up against each other. Might be a good match though. I mean, that's the thing about Bray Wyatt that some people criticize, like the guy, he's a great character, but his matches aren't exactly the best. I think he's a really solid wrestler. I think part of the problem is the supernatural stuff tends to get in the way of the match quality. Chat About Wrestling sent in a $5 super chat, says maybe Bray Wyatt version of Three Faces of Foley. Bray Wyatt, Fiend, and Wyatt 6. Well, that's an idea right there. I'm not sure if he'll do that. Maybe that would be too close to what Mick Foley does, but you could certainly do something similar. And really, he was doing something like that where he was the Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt, and then he was the Fiend. So he was already kind of doing like the dual personalities. But we'll see. It's certainly a possibility that he could do multiple characters and bring back different characters for different situations. This guy experienced with the $2 super chat says, tough spot booking Bray due to all these new people. Well, like I said, Bray Wyatt versus Judgment Day, Bray Wyatt versus Karrion Kross. You got a couple of feuds right there. And hey, who knows? Maybe Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns at some point. But you have to think Bray's going to leapfrog ahead of all these other people, because with that reaction, like that was a top tier superstar reaction for Bray Wyatt. Anyways, I'm heading out. It's well past midnight here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Much love to everybody out there. And stay tuned for more. No DQ review. Not sure if that's going to be on Tuesday or next Saturday, but that will be coming up on a different day. Follow me on social media for updates. Dre sent in a $2 super chat, says Judgment Day, Demon Balor versus Bray Wyatt. You got that. You could do Bray Wyatt versus Damian Priest one-on-one. You could do the tag match. You could do a 6-man. Right there with Judgment Day, you can get at least 4 pay-per-view matches out of Bray Wyatt. You don't even have to put them on TV in matches. You could save them for the premium live events, and you get 4 premium live events right there with a program against Judgment Day. So we'll see what they do. Chat About Wrestling sent in a $2 super chat, says, you think Triple H gave Bray carte blanche? I have no idea what that means. Creative control, maybe? I'm sure he has a lot of say in his character, for sure. I heard that maybe he was butting heads with Vince McMahon, and that was part of the problem why Bray Wyatt did not reach his fullest potential before. But yeah, I think that with Triple H bringing him back, that they're going to let him have some control over his character. And so far, so good. If this was, a team effort here, they brought in that new guy to be part of the creative process, and he's close with Bray Wyatt. So I could definitely see Bray having some influence with the storylines. Anyways, guys, I'm out for tonight. Thank you all so much again for tuning in. Remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. Enjoy your week, the rest of your weekend. It's Saturday, and I will see you all next time.